Death in childhood, the invention of negation, on narcissism, aggression, and the Oedipal dream of self-birth. The child as metaphysician of denial. The first affirmation is accompanied by the first negation. To be the father oneself, all instincts gratified. The child is father of the man. Negation is the shadow of creation. Every I begins with a no. While the pure pleasure ego invents death by denying pain. The first philosophy is the refusal of pain. The infant's first word is mama, but no. To deny the world is to create the mind. Negation is the first form of thought, the ego's primitive theology. In denying separation, the infant becomes God in fantasy. Solipsism of philosophers is the nostalgia of the breast. Every metaphysical system is an infant's defense against loss. The anal child discovers power in reversal to give what was taken. Passivity transforms into activity. Dependence hardens into rebellion. The child's aggression is born from its own helplessness. Now I am the mother and you are the child, the primal inversion of roles. The anal sadistic stage externalized the death instinct, the first projection of evil into the world. The will to mastery begins in the bowel. Civilization begins as toilet fantasy. Aggression is death repressed into motion. The will to act conceals the terror of dependence. The anal sadistic world is the child's rebellion against being born. To do is to refuse being done unto, the ontology of rage. All creation is an aggression sublimated. The world is excrement of the ego. The death instinct denied as passivity returns as work. Thus eros becomes productive and destructive. The climax of narcissistic flight, creation without the mother. The Oedipal project to conquer death by giving birth to oneself. The infant dreams the formula, the desire to be one's own origin. The Oedipal child says to the cosmos, let there be me. Masculinity is not biology but fantasy. Activity deified, passivity despised. The phallus is a monument to the fear of dependence. To be father of oneself is to flee the mother and to flee death. The Oedipal complex is the theology of self-birth. Parental love is narcissism reincarnated. The son is the father's mirror, the father his son's tomb. Every here is an apology for death. The child carries the burden of immortality the parent could not bear. He who begets conquers death, the logic of lineage and empire. The family reproduces neurosis as its sacred trust. Every genealogy is a theology of fear. Castration is the return of death through language. The father's no is the first commandment, but the father's law is not external. It arises from the child's own ambivalence. It is not decisive whether one kills one's father or not. One must feel guilty in either case. Guilt is the ego's way of surviving the death of its fantasies. The law replaces the mother's body as a new enclosure. To obey is to repress death by ritualizing it. Repression is not parental but primal. The child represses itself. Anxiety, not the father, is the author of the superego. The threat of castration is the ego's projection of its own inner fracture. What the child fears losing is not a penis, but omnipotence. Masturbation in Freud's late formula is only the discharge of the Oedipal wish. Thus, repression is the ego's sacrifice to avoid self-annihilation. Morality is the shadow of the infant's terror. The Oedipal drama floats atop buried goddess. Pre-Oedipal mother is the cosmos before division, both womb and world. She is the original totality from which the ego separates itself. The child's first theology is maternal. She is heaven and hell combined. The father is the only late mask of the mother's absence. The first God to die is the mother, and her death creates man. The entire history of metaphysics is the repression of the mother. The perception of sexual difference is the second fall. The mother's absence of a penis is the boy's revelation of mortality. The girl's likeness to the mother is her first horror of repetition. Sexual identity begins in revulsion, the self defined against the mother. Masculinity is the denial of origin. Femininity, the denial of denial. The child's first philosophy of being, to exist, is to lack. Thus both sexes are born from the same terror, the sight of difference as death. The child invents God as consolation for separation. In fantasy, he creates himself to escape the womb's absence. Negation is divine. The ego's first creative act is rebellion. Death transformed into denial becomes the source of thought. Philosophy is the sublimation of infancy, thinking as weaning. The Oedipal dream persists, the wish to be God, self-born and immortal. Yet redemption begins when the child learns to affirm what he once denied. The world, the mother, and death.